The Olight PL-X is a tactical light bringing both a spotlight and floodlight into one solution. In this video, I'm going to unbox it, show you everything that it comes with, talk about the overall build quality, and look at the difference of the lighting. We're going to see how this works in outside the waistband and inside the waistband holsters, and talk about how it actually holds up under recoil and stressful conditions out on the range. We're going to see how the light looks both outdoors as well as indoors, and talk about why this light has such a cool feature that no other light on the market has, and why you may want to pick this up for yourself, for your everyday carry or bedside gun. We're going to jump straight into the specs because I know a ton of you guys love to just know that info from the get-go to see if this is even something you're looking for. So here on screen, I'm showing you the specs directly from Olight because they sent this to me with their marketing material as this light was given over to me. This is a disclaimer of the video that Olight sent this over. This is the first time I've collaborated with them. They sent me the light and basically said, say whatever you want about it, give it a fair review. And that's exactly what this video is trying to do. So I'm not biased in any way. I don't have to send it back. I'm not getting anything special out of it, and there's no link in the description to purchase this light. This is my own feedback and review. Now, overall, I will say I do love the user-friendly operations. It comes with a ton of features for users like strobe mode and higher and lowness brightness settings that you can adjust at any time. Now, the special thing about this light is that it's a mixture of LEDs. You have two LEDs that provide a floodlight and one large LED that's providing a spotlight that you can swap to at any time with the switch that's built into the light. Whether the light is on or off, you'll be able to toggle that switch, activating whichever light you want at that time. You can swap off whether the light, again, is on or off. And you can do this even if the light is already on strobe mode, which is pretty cool if that is something that you're into. We're going to look more at the performance of what this light can achieve, but first, let me show you everything that comes in the box if you were to purchase this light. First, I will say off the bat that the packaging for this light is more premium than I've seen from Olight in the past. It's just very easy to read instructions. Everything comes out of the box without you needing to necessarily rip it all apart like you do with some of these other cheaper products that might be out there on the market. The instruction booklet is very well detailed and includes how much lighting performance you're going to get per battery life with the light. It includes all the different attachments, how to make changes, as well as how to use all of the different lighting settings right off the bat with illustrations, which is nice. Before we talk about the details and other pieces that come with the kit, let's actually take the light out. As you can see, it's fully aluminum, nice build quality. I have to say it's pretty lightweight compared to other options that might be out there, and this is mostly because it has an internal battery. It's not something that you can take out and replace, but it is nice to be able to charge this with USB Type-C, which is just very, very convenient. It comes out of the box with a 1913 pick rail, which is something that we're probably all going to use unless you're a Glock fan. So then it, of course, comes with a rail adapter to be able to change that out. And now the first thing I did was look at the light pattern, even though it says to charge it. Just come on. So I tested out, just seeing what the difference is on the table. I think it's a good way to illustrate. You can see that very high focus beam, which is the spotlight, comparatively to the floodlight. And you're seeing basically the LED that's shining, and you're seeing exactly that light pattern shined out on the table. And I can show another view, which is going directly on the wall, just so you can see from a close-up perspective how that lighting looks. And of course, from further and further out, it's going to drastically change that. The light also comes with this handy-dandy all-in-one tool, which should have everything that you need to actually make changes and updates to the light. If you wanted to change out the rail adapter, or if you wanted to tighten or loosen it up, it's an all-in-one solution. Besides for your Glock rail adapter, it also comes with a spare screw, so it's nice that you have those right out of the box. And it comes with a USB Type-C wire. I believe it's a 3-foot long wire. I don't have that anywhere in the documentation, but that's just what I believe. I didn't measure it or anything. It's pretty decent quality, but I believe you can use basically any charger in this. So your regular phone charger, your car charger, whatever you have. If you have an Android phone, then you're good to go, or if you have a newer iPhone, you're also good to go. Probably the most important part of any light, besides for the actual light part, is the mounting system. How is this actually connecting and holding onto the gun? So here we're going to compare to the Streamlight TLR-1. As you can see, there's a mounting plate, which is the rail adapter basically in there. It sits on there, and then you essentially put it onto the rail piece that you want. But you can obviously see that there's a little bit of a gap between the trigger guard and the actual light itself. Switching to the PL-X without needing to make any changes, and by default, it actually fit fairly well onto the fourth rail position, and there's less space between the trigger guard and the light, but it's not as secure as I would like it to be. And so besides for being able to flip around the rail adapter to put it even closer, you can just move the track. So this is an easy to do thing. All you have to do is basically push hard and forwards or backwards. You can choose exactly where you would want it. And it's nice that it has those indicators to tell you basically on this gun, I want it on the second setting, or this gun on the first setting. And here on the first setting, all I have to do is mount it straight on there. It goes onto the third rail spot position now. I'm not sure if you can see that. And it's way closer to the trigger guard than before. Tightening the light down is very easy to do with the tool which is included out of the box. And you can do this with a bullet. Unfortunately, you can't do this just with your hands. In order for it to be secure, you need to use a tool like so. And once that screw is tightened down, that light is not going anywhere. It's probably one of the most secure lights I've ever had on a firearm. No matter how hard you rack your slide or hit it, it's not going to go anywhere. The biggest con that this light is going to have, and it's a general thing with Olight, it's my biggest gripe with them, is going to be holster compatibility. The big brands such as Tier 1 Concealed and T-Rex Arms are not going to have holsters made for Olight, at least not that I see in the near future, which probably includes this one. Now, I did specifically ask Olight to send me some models and holsters that were compatible. So they did include this in their documentation for a few brands you can see here. I recognize Alien, not so familiar with the other ones, but it is nice to know that some manufacturers are planning on making holsters which are going to fit for a plethora of guns for this light. I also took the liberty of actually testing this light on a few holsters, such as the Blackhawk Omnivore, because it's known that a few other lights may work on this. And while there was retention on the Blackhawk Omnivore, unfortunately, when you push the gun at a certain angle, you can easily just pull it out of the holster. So I would not use this as a perfect retaining method. I wouldn't suggest the Blackhawk Omnivore for secure carry anyhow, but for competition uses, it is something that you can do. For range uses, you can definitely use this holster and still have fun with it, which is nice to have. Then I tried out a T-Rex Arms Raptor holster. This one is specifically for the Walther PDP SD Pro Compact, and it sits very nicely in there. This is without tightening it down. So do note that I did not tighten down the holster. It's very easy to slip in and out right now, but it actually still does a very good job of protecting the trigger guard. So of course, the main part of a holster is to make sure nothing can slip into that trigger guard and accidentally pull the trigger. That's the #1 job of any holster, besides for securing the gun by the light, because any holster that has a light feature built into it is going to be retaining the gun from the light, just because that's usually the wider part of the gun itself. And so over here, you can see I'm trying to slip my finger in there. I can't reach the trigger, let alone there's a trigger safety on the Walther, so nothing to fear there. I went ahead and did the exact same test using my SIG P320 with a Wilson Combat grip module, putting the TLR-1 inside of the holster, which is specifically made for it by Tier 1 Concealed. So this is, again, a Tier 1 Concealed holster for the TLR-1 HL on this particular gun. And you can see, no way I can get my finger in there. It's probably the most secure holster that I have, and it's really well made. As you can see there, perfect retention, fits really nicely. When I swap over to the PLX, it actually still fits very nicely into the holster. It protects the trigger guard, and this is without pushing down on the retention screw to make things a little bit tighter, which of course, when I do so, it's going to make things even harder to access. But here, I cannot reach the trigger again. Even if my pinky is able to slip in there just a little bit, it's not enough to actually reach the trigger. You can see on the other side, can't reach it at all. And I go ahead and show off that the safety is still protected on the other side, the same way that it was before. And you can even compare the amount of how forward sitting the gun is inside of the holster. You can see it's basically at the same exact amount. Another quick disclaimer that I'm not recommending you carry in a holster, which is not particularly made for your specific gun or light, but in this case I felt comfortable testing with it just because of what I showed you, so I can properly test this light with daily usage in order to give you guys the best possible review. The other gripe that I have with the light is going to be the charge port location. There's nothing inherently wrong with the location. I believe it is nicely secured. It's a magnetic closed lid, so it's going to stay nice and tight and shut, keep bad weather out or any dirt and debris out, but it is something that you aren't going to be able to actually charge the light when it is in a holster. I don't see a way of how to actually get that in there unless you cut out a hole perfectly for the charge port, which I wouldn't recommend doing to any of your holsters. So it's just kind of an upsetting thing, because if you are planning on putting this on your everyday carry gun, and that also happens to be your nightstand gun, which for a lot of people it is, it's their one and only gun, or it's the gun that they personally prefer to use, so they want to be able to just take their holster off and put it by their bedside. They don't necessarily want to take the gun out of the holster, put it into condition 3 or whatever else they may have to do, considering they have kids in the house or other things. So with that said, you're not going to be able to charge this light when it's in a holster, just because I haven't seen any holsters that have that ability. Now, I did put this light through the ringer. So here you can see I'm actually using it at the range. You can see all the smoke in the air because of the light, and I'm testing this one-handed, I'm testing this two-handed to see just will it handle recoil, and I can tell you it did an excellent job. I had no problems with retention on the light at all. I also did test if the light would work while charging, and I can happily say that it does. I also left the light on for an extended period of time, about 10 minutes or so, just to see how hot it would get, and while it was warm, it was not piping hot. It wasn't anything that I was afraid to touch, even after a few minutes of just staying consistently on the highest, brightest mode. Finally, I'm going to shed some more light, pun intended, on how the PL-X actually performs. So here you can see the default is going to be Cleveland, Ohio at 8 o'clock on a cloudy night. So you can see there's plenty of light pollution going on. I have no lights on for the backyard of my house. When I actually turn on those backyard lights, you see plenty. You see basically the entire backyard is nicely lit up. If I'm actually using our PL-X, we can see that with the floodlight, it nicely illuminates the backyard. Not as much, right? It's a floodlight, but it's not fully out there in terms of broad range. It's still a nice amount of light, and it's definitely illuminating the area, but not as much as lights affixed to the house, which there's multiple of. So that makes sense. You can see I'm constantly switching between the floodlight and the spotlight to give you guys the best comparison possible. And you can already tell that the spotlight is meant to illuminate things that are further away or are in a very, very dark spot, or something in general you want to focus and shine as much light on as possible, compared to the floodlight, which is for illuminating a round area. In terms of light activation, if you hold down on the button, that's going to effectively mean that you're going to have to consistently hold down on it to keep that light on. If you push the other side while holding it down, it's going to activate strobe mode. Effectively, also, if you just push the button, so you click it very, very quickly, it's going to keep the light on consistently. And if you go ahead and hold that while hitting the other side, is also going to activate strobe mode. Now, let's do a quick comparison between the PL-X and the PL Mini 2, which is also a separate Olight, but the main point is that I want to show off the comparison in terms of light illumination. So the PL Mini 2 is a more budget light. It doesn't mean that it's cheap by any means, and it doesn't mean that it's not a good light. It's just effectively showing how much brighter the PL-X is over something in the same category of weapon mounted light. Like, why would you get this over a different one? You're going to see some performance difference for sure.
Now, one of the ways that I see this light being most utilized is the fact that it has the two modes, right? You're able to do the widespread, and then you're able to do a focused beam. So this is going to be the scenario. I'm going to shut the lights off down here, and we're going to go ahead and infiltrate this room. The camera is going to be the enemy, or whatever I'm looking at. So let's say I'm a police officer checking out a house. For whatever reason, the lights are off, and there's no power, so I can't actually turn them on. I'm relying on this light. I'm trying to illuminate as much room as possible, and then when I need to focus on something, I can go ahead and direct that beam. And we're gonna actually compare this to a TLR-1 HL just to see what the difference would be in terms of the ability to be able to do that versus not being able to do that. I'm recording through the Maccabee headset so you guys can actually see what I see.
To start things off, I'm going to use the PL-X, and I'm going to be going down the stairs using the floodlight. This way I illuminate the maximum amount of space as possible. I can see the entire room, and then when I finally do see the camera, I can immediately shift onto using the spotlight, blinding effectively that light in that area. You can see this now from the other perspective, switching between the spotlight and the floodlight to see the light difference. Here is another look at things when using the floodlight. I can just see so much of the space of the room, and then when I do use the spotlight, I can still see the surrounding area, just not as much, right? That spotlight is meant to focus on a certain point. Here I'm using the TLR-1 HL, and as you can see with that spotlight, I'm actually blinding myself a little bit compared to the floodlight on the PL-X. That just gives you the option of basically, there's too much light, I can always adjust it. Unfortunately, with the TLR-1 HL, you're stuck with always having that spotlight on, and while it does also illuminate the surrounding area, it's not as effective in being able to have both. So for a CQB environment, it's actually really nice to be able to have the option to switch between the floodlight and the spotlight, and that's where I see this being actually more effective than even in outdoor usage. So there you go, everyone. That's going to be my review of the Olight PL-X. Let me know what you think, and if you have, of course, any questions, you can leave them down below in the comments. I'd love to hear from you what your thoughts are on this light and the features it comes with. Don't forget to like and subscribe.